Texoma here. I've got a video today that, we'll say has nothing to do with Star Trek or Transformers. Technically, it does a little bit, because some of the people that worked on Star Trek did work on this show. Some of the things that they created for Star Trek have showed up in this show. And it shared a network with Star Trek, Voyager. Some of y'all should be old enough to remember the tried but unfortunately failed UPN network, United Paramount Network. And Voyager was its flagship show. Voyager was the show that launched the network. But then, after Voyager, came on another sci-fi show. I can't remember if it was exactly right after Voyager, or if it was like a year or two after Voyager, something like that. A couple years, might have been. Forgive me, I haven't looked up the Wikipedia on it, so yeah. Today's show that I am talking about is none other than the mostly forgotten, we'll say, UPN show called 7 Days. Now, 7 Days is a show about a top secret government agency that has developed a time travel device that is based off of reverse engineered technology from the UFO crash in Roswell, New Mexico in '47. The fuel cell that they recovered from that crash allows the device, the sphere as they call it, because that's all it is, just a big, well, yeah, not big like that, but humongous round ball that it can allow one person to travel back in time 7 days. So this technology is used for, in the first episode, a terrorist organization decides to blow up the White House, which kills the president and vice president. They authorize what they call Backstep to fire up that machine, send the chrononaut back in time 7 days with all the intel that they've found on who is responsible for it, where they'll be, all that kind of stuff. Go back in time 7 days to prevent that from happening. They've used it for, at this point, there was a worldwide virus that was going on. Excuse me. They went back in time 7 days, figured out who was doing that. There have been a couple of different terrorist threats. They've gone back in time 7 days, stopped that. It is a sci-fi show, so you have to suspend belief on some things. The guidance system that they use is not perfectly exact. The chrononaut here in the center is Frank Parker, who, if y'all have watched or seen on my Facebook page, shares the name of one of the people in fan films and one of the people who helps run this page, the No Budget Productions and Filk Ferret video page here. His name is Frank Parker. So, jokingly, a lot of the time when I see a comment that he's made, I have made comments back of, "Oh, great! There must have been something that happened. 7 days from now, you're back here to prevent that from happening, or something like that, something goofy." But Frank Parker there, that Frank Parker, not the page Frank Parker, has a joystick which guides the sphere when it goes back in time to try to land close to that top secret government compound. Doesn't always work. There have been, I'm about 3/4 of the way through the first season on my rewatch of this. I haven't seen it in years. And there have been like 2 episodes where he's actually been able to control it enough to land very close to, the intended target. One, he actually had to go back in time to stop a submarine from rising to the surface because it had a rupture in its nuclear tanks, and if it surfaced, that rupture would spread the nuclear pollution all throughout Alaska and Canada, and the wind would bring it down and encircle the world. So normally Frank can get the machine back within, say, about 200 to 1,000 miles of the base, which is in Nevada, of course, because it's out in the desert and easy to hide stuff out there. But in this one episode, that submarine was in the ocean up around Alaska, and he was able to successfully pilot the device and land close enough in the ocean in Alaska that he could swim over in his flight suit with this new technology that was quickly developed, that he quickly got the hang of, that allowed him to breathe water. And he snuck his way on board a Russian submarine. Wait, what? It's a sci-fi show. You have to believe the impossible. I mean, we're talking about time travel here, too. I mean, come on. Those things aside, I enjoyed it. There's a lot of action in it. There's sci-fi. Sometimes it gets a little thin on things. There's an episode recently that I kind of referred to, that Russia had been competing with the United States on who can get this time travel figured out first, who will be the first to get a chrononaut and all that. And one of the scientists that works in Nevada worked on the Russian team that was trying to develop time travel too. And her husband was in a time travel pod that they thought was destroyed or lost in time. And turns out that instead of going back in time, somehow he shot forward in time about 30 years. And he'd been working on everything, all the calculations and this and that and the other, to come back from 30 years in the future to be with her. And inside of his time travel pod, that if you look at it from the outside, it looks like a highly redressed shuttlecraft from Next Generation, Voyager, possibly one of the runabouts from DS9. Not sure exactly which, but it kind of has that look to it. And when you enter the main cargo hatch, which is at the rear of the time pod, it, has the different fancy computer screens up on the wall and all this. But as you get forward to the cockpit of it, you can clearly see LCARS panels, just like out of Next Gen or Voyager. Right there all over the cockpit. So that's how, I know there was some crossover between the art departments and, possibly some of the designers, set designers from Voyager to 7 Days. Also, it was a UPN show, airing on the same network. I know not all the time does the network actually produce the show that they air, but I think it's safe to say there was some crossover going on there. Again, I think it's pretty cool. Now, this show, years ago, I believe it was on the Spike network, on cable and satellite and all that. It never really, I guess, caught on to where it's in regular rotation on reruns. It's a good show, but for some reason it just kind of fizzled and died, and a lot of people have forgotten about it. But apparently a couple years ago, this company called VEI, see if you can, yeah, right there, they got the licensing to some of these more forgotten shows to actually produce the DVDs so that the people that remember them can buy the DVD and rewatch the show. I believe I made a video last year about another UPN show that was a sci-fi show called Deadly Games, and VEI is the company that has the rights to produce those DVDs. They don't have all of the UPN shows on DVD, or the UPN sci-fi shows. But I've been slowly trying to collect them and find them as I can, and as far as I know, I'm only missing one sci-fi show from UPN that I believe that I've seen that they have, and I will be purchasing at some point in the future when my finances kind of settle down and get back under control a little bit better. But if you're looking for this show, if you want to check it out, if you want to remember it, or if you do remember it, I'm sorry, getting tongue-tied here, and you do want it for your own collection, because I don't think it's streaming anywhere. I don't think Netflix or Hulu or even Paramount has this streaming anywhere. I think there are some iffy quality copies floating around on YouTube, or there were a couple years ago. But if you want the official release, the only way that you're going to find it on DVD is eBay, Amazon, or you can order it directly from VEI themselves, which is what I've done, because they were running a special, and I think they were about $5 cheaper and free shipping than anywhere else I had found. Plus, PayPal has this cool pay it in 4 thing, so through their website I was able to access PayPal, and it's like $33, give or take, for the box set of all 3 seasons. I've got that broke down through PayPal into payments of like $8.50 a piece, so that's a lot more manageable. But definitely, I highly recommend it. I think it's an awesome show. check it out. You know, if you can't afford the DVD cost yourself, check with your local libraries. A lot of them, sometimes, if there's enough demand for a certain item, they will buy it. You know, especially if you go in there, be nice, but be persistent and say, "Hey, man, there's this old TV show that I think is awesome. I think a lot of people would like seeing it, and checking it out." You know, hype it up. Sometimes they'll actually listen and actually buy that show, you know, for circulation in their library system. So, you know, check it out. Hope y'all enjoy it. It's one of my favorite shows. Like I said, I've only had it on DVD here for a week and a half or so. I'm already about 3/4 of the way through the first season. You know, I love catching up on older shows like that I've missed. So, alright guys, hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I will see y'all next week. Nerd in Texoma saying bye.